I decided to rebuild the Arizona Cardinals in 2K5, which will be a tough task to do since they are one of the worst rated teams in the game. Even looking at their roster, their best player is an offensive guard. They don't have a great quarterback. McCown is in the final year of his contract. Their running backs aren't fantastic. Their best position is wide receiver, but what does it matter when you have no one to throw on the ball? Their offensive line is really good on one side and terrible on the other. Their defensive line is as average can get, and beyond that, they're not bad. Linebackers are decent, secondary is okay. The biggest need is having to fix the offensive line and the quarterback position. How do we fix that? By making some trades. First being Russell Davis and a 5th round pick for Fordham and a 7th round pick. Fordham will be a stopgap player for at least 2 years, while moving on from Davis will give a chance for Darnell Dockett to prove his worth this season as a rookie. Another trade was Kyle Vanden Bosch to Buffalo for a 3rd round pick. We had a surplus of defensive ends. Vanden Bosch will need a new contract, and with Pace and Barry signed with long-term contracts, it makes sense to try and get something out of him before he leaves. We have one final trade before the season starts. Frank Garcia and a 4th round pick for Matt O'Dwyer and a 5th rounder. Garcia was the backup center on the final year of his contract. We weren't going to bring him back. He's also older. I wanted to get something out of him, and this trade makes our offensive line decent going into the year. The season didn't go exactly the way I thought it would have gone. Started the year 0-9. We would get our first win of the year against the Carolina Panthers, a game where we were up 24-7 and barely snuck by with a 24-21 win. Sadly, that was the only win they managed throughout the entire season, finishing with a 1-15 record. That means they'll have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft going into season 2, and Mel has the Cardinals selecting Austin Gordon, who's the best player in this year's draft class. It's not a bad decision to draft a running back with Marcel Shipp being below average, but Emmitt Smith didn't look too bad in his potential final season in the NFL. We have to find their replacement. Gordon doesn't seem like a bad option here. The biggest question mark is Josh McCown. Started the season but was benched multiple times. If you want a more in-depth look on each season, check out the individual yearly rebuilds on the channel. John Navarre, the backup, looked as decent as McCown, while Sean King was terrible. Quarterback is indeed a problem that needs to be fixed, but should we select one with that 1st overall pick? The receivers on the team weren't terrible. Bolden almost hit 1,000 yards, which seems to be hard to come by in these games. Fitzgerald was a solid number 2 on the team, but beyond him, they weren't spectacular. How much is to blame on the depth at that position or the skill the team has at the quarterback position? Even the defense was pretty solid. Burt Berry led the team in sacks. Carlos Dansby won Defensive Rookie of the Year, while Dwayne Starks had 9 interceptions, and I can tell you right now, the defense is not what I'm worried about going into the next offseason. Before we head to the offseason, the first Super Bowl in the series was between the Oakland Raiders and the Carolina Panthers. The one team we beat this season, and they became the Super Bowl champions. Technically, that means we're Super Bowl champions, right? We're now going into year 2, and we're hit with a somewhat surprise retirement. Matt O'Dwyer is retiring. I thought he could have been a stopgap player for at least 2 years, but he decided 1 year with the team was enough. Even backing up the dump truck, he's not coming back. This means we basically traded a 4th round pick for a 5th round pick. Better be one heck of a selection. During the re-signing period, we had a chance to bring back Josh McCown, but he wanted a 7-year deal. This was a really good deal, but I'm never a fan of long-term contracts, and I let him walk. He ended up signing with the Bears. Did I make a mistake? Emmitt Smith also didn't retire, but let's be honest, he's probably going to regress this coming season, right? I didn't bring him back either. He went to the Browns. Watch the full video to see where he ended up at the end of the year. Freddie Jones was the biggest name who needed a contract. I told him we were going to run it back for 1 more season. Even if tight ends don't have flashy numbers, it's nice to have a good one. Another big name I brought back was Ronald McKinnon. I figure, just like Jones, bring him back for another season, draft a replacement in the offseason, let them play out their contract, then move on from them. Moving on to free agency, our quarterback problems could be solved with the signing of Matt Hasselbeck. Signing him, then drafting Austin Gordon with the 1st pick would be legendary. So I signed Matt Light. Well, that's a wrong Matt. I did try to sign Matt Hasselbeck, but he didn't want to come here. Instead, he went to back up Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia, which means I had to pivot. I figured if I can build a great offensive line, any quarterback I sign will have a better chance to succeed. It also means with a great line, you could potentially have a great running game. I think it's quite clear at this point I'm drafting Austin Gordon with the #1 pick in the draft. And this isn't the modern day NFL. It's okay to draft a running back in the early 2000s. That means with our 2nd round pick, we drafted a quarterback, Clifton Gray, and moving forward, he'll be the starting quarterback of this franchise. He totally isn't going to be a bust and be replaced by our 7th round pick, Russell Guzman. We're not the 49ers. We got a solid starter in Thomas Baker from the Buffalo trade with Vanden Bosch that helps with the loss of Matt O'Dwyer and also strengthens the interior line. We also drafted Blake McCoy with the trade from Matt O'Dwyer, and it looks like everything's coming up Millhouse. Before we get to the season, there were some trades I made. Remember Fordham? Well, I traded him away to Miami for a 4th round pick and a backup guard. We no longer had a need for him with the signing of Matt Light to the team. Plus, he was on the final year of his contract. I wanted something out of him. I also traded away Hayes for a 5th round pick, and in retrospect, this wasn't a realistic trade, and in future rebuilds, I'll avoid taking advantage of the computer in this way. He was a 60 overall, should have just been released. Now, with all the moves, including the offseason, did we improve over our 1-15 season? Well, yes. We won our season opener but ended up going 2-9 before finishing strong enough to go 5-11. I really recommend watching this video for this season since they truly were the cardiac Cardinals. Clifton Gray is looking like a solid quarterback for the future. His backup Guzman did get a bit of playing time. The biggest shocker, well, not really, but kinda, was Austin Gordon. He won the rushing title during his rookie season, had over 1,500 yards. Turns out drafting Gordon and Gray with the 1st and 2nd round pick turned out to be the right choice this season. Fitzgerald had a better season than he did his rookie year, while Bolden had a drop in performance, but still very good production. Going into our 2nd offseason, we had another surprise retirement. Dwayne Starks, who was going to enter his 9th season in the NFL, decided to call it quits, which helped us since it gave us $5 million back to our cap. We would use that to re-sign Larry Fitzgerald, who was only on a 2-year rookie deal. Now he's going to be here for another 3 years, while veteran Freddie Jones isn't going to return to the team. Pete Kendall also hit past the 10-year mark as a pro. He's not returning, even though he's still very good. He's also very expensive. Lastly, Adrian Wilson will not return. He's one of the best players in our secondary, but his inability to be a playmaker made me want to move on from him. Moving on, I didn't sign anyone in free agency this year. If you want to see why, go check out the full year 3 video to see how nobody in free agency wanted to come to Arizona. That did give me an idea to explore trading down in the draft. I gave up my 1st round pick and a 5th to the Jets for their 2nd round, 3rd round, and 5th. For those who don't know, I have a rule where I only draft quarterbacks, running backs, offensive tackles, and defensive ends in the 1st round. None of those are positions of need for me, so I traded down with the idea of being able to draft the best player available in the 2nd round, like Darren Francis, who was the 1st pick selected in our draft. He looks to be a very good player. We also drafted our future center with our other 2nd round pick. Harvey Salazar was supposed to be Wilson's replacement, but that isn't looking too good. And the rest of the draft was pretty much a miss after Francis. This was one of the worst draft classes I had, and it happened during the year I decided to trade down. Did all of my work this offseason make an impact to improve over our 5-win season? Well, we started out 0-2, and I had to bench Gray against the 49ers, thus starting the Guzman era as the quarterback, who came back against San Francisco for their 1st win of the year. He then led the team to a 7-8 record before facing off against the Patriots to give the team a chance at their 1st non-losing season in the rebuild. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to clutch up and they lost by a field goal. It was still an improvement over last year, but fell flat in the end. Clifton Gray just didn't look like the guy he was last season, while Guzman stepped up and was much more careful with the ball. At this point, it looks like the 7th round pick will be starting going into the next season. It didn't help that Austin Gordon struggled struggled on the ground. Pete Kendall's absence clearly had a bigger impact than I originally thought. While Anquan Boldin continues his okay seasons with the team, Fitzgerald also proving he's no more than a number 2. Burt Berry being the best pass rusher we have on defense isn't what you like to see, but Calvin Pace is trying to help. While Carlos Dansby has been one of the most reliable defenders we have, and Darren Francis is looking every bit like a franchise centerpiece we thought he'd be when we drafted him this year. Before we move on to year 4, look who made the Super Bowl. The Josh McCown-led Bears. Did I make a mistake by not re-signing him back in year 2? Maybe we'd be in the Super Bowl right now. They wouldn't win, but it still stings a bit. We're going to have a lot of money to work with in the 4th year of the rebuild, $35.44 million to be exact, so I went ahead and re-signed Anquan Boldin. There's no excuse not to bring back the best receiver on the team. I re-signed Carlos Dansby. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year and has been a solid piece of the team for the past 3 seasons. Why wouldn't he be back? Lastly, I brought back Leonard Davis. He was the best player on the team when we started the series. It's only right we keep him to retain the solid offensive line. And just like that, we've spent half of our cap space. We probably shouldn't sign anyone in free agency. I added another receiver to the team, Bobby Bowen. If things don't work out with Fitzgerald, we have a contingency plan. We're on to the draft, and go check out the full video because I messed up in the first round, but long story short, instead of trading the pick away, I drafted an offensive tackle, Roderick Cook. Exciting, I know. We also drafted our next starting inside linebacker in the 2nd round with Phil Fowler. Drafted another starter with our 3rd round pick in Bradley Curry. Heck, we even drafted a starting strong safety in the 4th with Marion Page, and we're not done. We drafted our new starting center in the 5th round with Alex Knight. Now, before we start the season, I still wasn't too confident with Guzman or Gray as our starting quarterback, so I went looking around for potential replacements. There he was, just sitting there. Eli Manning was available as a free agent. Kurt Warner won the starting job with the Giants for a 4th consecutive year. And that means one man's trash is another one's treasure, and he's gonna stay in the trash for that price, which sucks because Peyton Manning somehow ended up on the 49ers this season. I'm not even sure how they got him since he wasn't in free agency, and it looks like we're sticking with Guzman for another year. Will he and the new rookie draft class push us over the hump and make us a winning football team for the first time in this series? Well, yeah, we finished with a 10-6 record. Started the year 3-3, finished strong going 7-3. Didn't win the division, that honor goes to the 49ers, but we did make the playoffs for the first time in this series, in large part due to how well Guzman played. I think he proved he's the guy moving forward. It also helps that Anquan Boldin had his best season and possibly the best season ever in any of my 2K5 rebuilds. Fitzgerald can't shake off the number 2 label and did slightly better than the free agent Bobby Bowen, who performed better than expected for the 3rd option. While Gordon improved ever so slightly, this team is miles better than where they were 3 years ago. Even defensively, Phil Fowler won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's a great pairing with our other Defensive Rookie of the Year in year 1, Carlos Dansby. Burt Berry continues to show that even in the back end of his career, he can still produce like a top talent. Darren Francis might end up being the best corner in the league in a few years. This team is set up for the future. But we're in the present right now, and it all begins in the wild card against the Philadelphia Eagles. The road to the Super Bowl for Arizona will begin in Lincoln Memorial Field, where they can finally get their revenge on backup quarterback Matt Hasselbeck. We start at the beginning of the 2nd quarter. Arizona is up 3-0. It's 3rd down for Philadelphia, and Donovan McNabb finds Terrell Owens for 19 yards and double coverage. The following play, they pitch it to Chris Perry, who has the edge, he has the speed, and it'll get him past the 1st down and into Arizona territory. You can slowly feel the momentum shifting towards Philly at this point. 2 straight 1st downs and make it a 3rd straight with this 15-yard pass to Valdez. Arizona does slow them down to force a 3rd down. This drive got started because of a big play to Terrell Owens. It's going to end because of a big play to Terrell Owens. Double cover, doesn't matter. Philly takes the lead 7-3. Near the end of the second quarter, Arizona manages to add another field goal to make it 7-6. The Eagles have the ball, 36 seconds on the clock, and McNabb throws an interception. It's all coming up Milton Sims as he takes this down the sideline. It's a foot race, and right before the end of the half, Arizona retakes the lead, 13-3. We're now halfway through the third. Score's still the same. We haven't heard much from the Arizona offense. Guzman would find Anquan Bolden down the middle of the field in between two defenders. He wears Velcro, no shoestring tackle there to make it a 2-touchdown lead. You can't count this Eagles team out because whenever 81 is on the field, it can be a big play. Terrell Owens getting Philly across midfield on a third down. 2 plays later on 3rd and 3, McNabb fires over the middle, but defense plays hot potato with it. Falls incomplete, but wait a minute, there's a penalty. There was a face mask called on the defense that would extend the drive. The following play on the 20, McNabb throws this one on a rope to Terrell Owens between 2 defenders. Somehow doesn't get picked off, and it becomes a game again. Philadelphia 14, Arizona 20. Philadelphia would get one last chance to win the game on the final 2 minutes. On first down, they throw it to the flat, trying to make getting a first down easier. On second down, it's almost picked off by Bradley Curry. It's now 3rd and 8. The one thing we haven't seen all day is a sack from this defense, and Darnell Dockett gets to McNabb. That means this game comes down to the 4th down play. Who's the guy you go to when you need it most? T.O. And this time the double coverage works. They knock it down and the defense holds, and that means Arizona will be moving on to the divisional round after beating the Eagles 20-14, where they would take on the best team in the NFL, the 14-2 New Orleans Saints in the Louisiana Superdome. We go halfway through the first. The offense wasn't explosive in the wild card, but this week Guzman hits Bolden in stride, who bobbles it but makes the catch to get to midfield. The following play, after the face mask penalty, Guzman starts dancing in the pocket and buys enough time to find McCormick in stride to get them inside the 5. The drive would then be capped off by a 1-yard touchdown run by the commissioner on 3rd and goal to give them the lead 7-3. We're now in the second quarter. Saints are marching down the field, 3rd and 7. Brooks threw only 3 interceptions all regular season. He threw his first one here in the playoffs. Defensive Rookie of the Year Phil Fowler with a takeaway. Cardinals would drive all the way down to the red zone. Guzman had success extending the play on their last drive. This time he takes off with it, and it's a fumble. Saints recover it, and the 2 teams traded turnovers on back-to-back drives. We go to the final 30 seconds of the first half. Arizona has it once again. Remember, the only free agent signing the Cardinals had. Attaboy Bobby Bowen makes the catch to get them into field goal range. With only 23 seconds left in the half, Guzman finds Anquan Bolden. He has the sideline. The Saints secondary does a terrible job pushing them out and allows a touchdown. Cardinals would be up 14-3 going into the half. Moving to the third quarter, Saints are in good field position for points. Still down 14-3. Chance to cut the lead down, and Aaron Brooks throws his 3rd interception in the game at this point. We're now at the start of the 4th. A touchdown can put this game away, and I talked about him earlier, but attaboy Bobby Bowen with another big play to set them up inside the 10. The following play, they would pitch it to the commissioner. Left side, makes a guy miss, and has his 2nd touchdown in the game to make it 21-3. The Saints did cut the lead down to just 2 touchdowns with a field goal. They attempt an onside kick, but wasn't able to recover it, and the game is all but over. The commissioner says if there's time on the clock, it's never over. It's never over to score more points. He may not be the fastest guy, but when you have that much space, you can walk in. Cardinals are now up 28-6. There have been stranger comebacks. Can New Orleans pull it off? Brooks threw 3 interceptions all regular season, throws his 4th interception in this game. Phil Fowler with the 2nd on the day, and he could go almost all the way down at the 1. The last 2 offensive plays for the Cardinals have been touchdowns by the commissioner. Make it 3 straight touchdowns for Gordon on his last 3 carries, and the Saints would manage one last touchdown before the end of the game, but would still lose to the Cardinals 35-13. An embarrassing way to be eliminated, and Arizona will now be 1 game away from the Super Bowl. in the NFC Conference Championship game where they'll take on the divisional rival, the San Francisco 49ers. They split their regular season meetings. This is the penultimate game to decide who represents the NFC in the Super Bowl. After nothing happening in most of the first quarter, the Cardinals decide to take a chance and keep the offense on the field for 4th and 1 on their own 33. No way they hike this right. When you need something big, you give it to Commissioner Gordon. Had 4 touchdowns last week. He gets this first and a whole lot more. Last week, we also saw the rise of the boy that ain't right, Bobby Bowen. You have Fitzgerald, you have Anquan Bolden, you have a third weapon. They get inside the red zone with that spectacular catch. The drive would stall out here, forcing the Cardinals to a 40-yard attempt. Timothy Chavez makes it look easy as the Cardinals have their first lead, 3-0 over San Fran. We skip to the final minute of the first half. Cardinals have been capitalizing on points in the final 2 minutes during the playoff run. Fitzgerald gets separation. He has the speed. It'll be a foot race, and they're not going to stop him from scoring. How do you slow down a team with so many playmakers? I think the answer to that is you don't. Remember when I said they've been capitalizing in the final 2 minutes of the first half? With only 14 seconds left in the second quarter, Guzman finds Bolden to get them closer to field goal range. It would be a 51-yard field goal from here, but with 10 seconds left, they go to take one last shot. Guzman scrambles out and finds Bowen one-on-one to get near the 10. That would bring Timothy Chavez out to make it 13-0. It looks like it's going to be a blowout, but games aren't won by halftime. We now skip to halfway through the third. Score is still 13-0 Cardinals. Keep in mind this team has Peyton frickin' Manning, and he finds Woods in single coverage. The rookie Curry can't make the play. Nobody is going to catch him, and he takes it 82 yards for the touchdown to make it a 6-point game. Don't count out the sheriff yet. Moving to the fourth quarter, 49ers have the ball once again. Score is 13-7. Last time they had the ball, they took it 82 yards on one big pass play. They do it again here. This time, Griffith can't make the play. It may not be morning, but Manning got Woods again for 80 yards, this time to take a 1-point lead. Never count out the sheriff. After a 3-and-out for the Cardinals, they need to stop the 49ers if they want any chance of winning this game. But Peyton Manning has been making the right decisions, and another one here to get them near the 10. They're at the 2-minute warning, 3rd and 7. Game comes down to this play. Barnes breaks a tackle but stopped 1 yard short of the first by Dexter Jackson. Instead of going for it and potentially ending the game right there, they kick the field goal to make it 17-13, which means Russell Guzman is coming out to lead a potential game-winning drive. On 3rd and 10, he fits this one into the perfect spot to Bolden to extend the drive. Who would have thought the 7th round pick in the 2005 NFL Draft would come out and lead this team to the Super Bowl here, and he's hurt. That means Gray will have to come in and play. His first play in the playoffs off the bench cold is a tight throw to Bolden in double coverage to get him across midfield. It's now 3rd and 19 after a sack. Everything comes down to this drive, and you put it in the hands of the backup, and Bolden tells everyone, "Don't worry, I got you." Another first down there. There's now only 14 seconds left in the game. It's been all Bolden on this drive, but that just means everyone forgot about Fitzgerald open down the seam. With only 10 seconds left, the game comes down to these final plays. Gray to Fitzgerald, and with that touchdown, they'll win the game. Arizona will move on with this win over the 49ers, 2017, an instant classic that's going to send this team to their first Super Bowl, which will be against the dominant New England Patriots. This team had won 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, but the last one coming in 2003. They're back trying to reestablish their dynasty against a franchise that's been in poverty for quite some time, the Arizona Cardinals. We start this game halfway through the first. Brady finds Buckhalter. The prices have never been higher to get to midfield. A few plays later, Brady with great protection in the pocket and finds Deion Branch with a defender all over him but makes the catch. The Patriots offense looks like a hot knife in butter against the Cardinals defense. Brady to Green to get them into the red zone. A pass interference call would get them inside the 10, and on 3rd and goal, Brady finds Branch in between the zones to get the first points in Super Bowl 42. We're now halfway through the second. Patriots ball after a short punt from Arizona. They're creeping into the red zone, and now they're inside the red zone thanks to Deion Branch. First play after that reception at the 12, and they go back to Branch, who has part ownership of Francis Island. Patriots are now up 14-0. We skip to the second half. Patriots add 3 more points to their lead. Cardinals can't get anything going. Here's the best opportunity at midfield, and Fitzgerald makes the catch. Harrison can't break up the play and gets pushed out inside the 5. The following play, they give it to Commissioner Gordon, who gets tackled short of the end zone and would be out for the remainder of the game with an injury. That means the backup Noel Gilbert had to come into the game, and on 3rd and goal from the 1, he's able to punch it in to get Arizona back into this one. We remain in the 3rd quarter. Cardinals ball again, score still the same, 3rd and 16, and Gray, the former face of the franchise, squeezes that to Fitzgerald. So far, Fitzgerald has been getting all the action. On 3rd and 14 this time, Bolden gets in on it, getting them a new set of downs. It's now the start of the 4th. It feels like the momentum is shifting towards the Cardinals. Big play here and there, but Vrabel puts a stop to it, picking this pass off, and he heads towards the sideline. Nobody is around to push him out, and they'll make it a 17-point game again. The bigger question is, will this end up being something that gets changed in the future? Contact well down the field, pretty much 10 yards down the field. Big no call. The game is never over till it's over. Cardinals still have some fight in them. Gray finding Fitzgerald on this throw to get them near the 45. It's now 4th and 22. This would be the biggest conversion in the playoffs if they make it. Bolden down the middle and fights his way forward for the first. Now hold on. Can they make this a game again? Gray to Bolden. Defender made a terrible play on the ball, and he'll take this pass near the red zone. A few plays later, it's now 3rd and 2. Gray isn't really known for his legs, but he somehow makes magic happen and gets the first down. Remember when I said he's not really known for his legs? He hardly has the speed to outrun a slug and gets sacked. There's now less than 2 minutes left in the game. Time is ticking down and they need to score now. Gray goes to the end zone and puts it in the perfect spot for Bolden, making an easy touchdown catch. Now they need to get the onside kick, and it gets a bounce but can't get it. Patriots will have the ball. Patriots had their backups already out on the field. Cardinals were able to force a 3-and-out, spending 2 of their timeouts. They have 1 left and only 41 seconds, and they almost coughed up the ball there. Can the Cardinals pull off a miracle comeback? Gray would be in the pocket going deep, and Fitzgerald would make the catch. Safety played the ball poorly, and he'd be chased from behind. Now there's only 15 seconds left on the clock. We haven't heard his name all game, but Bobby Bowen was wide open, 1 guy left to beat, and hold on now. It's a 3-point game with 8 seconds to go. If the Cardinals recover it here, they still have a small chance. The bounce, but not the recovery, and the New England Patriots would survive Super Bowl 42. The pick 6 was the defining moment in the game, but the Patriots putting their backups in during the final quarter may have made this game unnecessarily close. In the end, the Patriots may have reignited their dynasty. The rebuild may be over for the Cardinals, but this franchise may be looking to create a dynasty now that they've gotten a taste of success. If you like this video, you should check out If I Could Recreate the Patriots Dynasty with Tom Brady in Madden 2002. It's made in a similar way to this video, and if you're interested in a much more in-depth look of this series, check out the playlist for this entire rebuild. I'll see you all in the next one.